A shakeup of former President Trump's legal team after he was indicted on federal charges. Sources tell ABC News 2 of Trump's attorneys have now resigned. This after a grand jury indicted the former president on charges related to his handling of classified documents. And this shakeup of former President Trump's legal team comes hours after one of his attorneys downplayed that indictment on GMA. Jim Trusty told George Stephanopoulos this was just a regular dispute over documents.
Yeah, President Trump, this won't be a newsflash. He's a pretty resilient guy. He's a pretty tough-hided person, so he's not, crumbling in fear or anything remotely like that. He's upset by the notion of this indictment. It's a different conversation.
Now Trump says Trusty will no longer represent him in the case. I want to bring in ABC News executive editorial producer John Santucci for more. John, what are you hearing about this change to Trump's legal team?
It is an outright resignation. These were lawyers that had been by Donald Trump's side, had been working this case for the better part of a year. Charges come, they stepped out. And I think that also has to do with the fact, this is going to be surprising, Diane, there was infighting within Team Trump. We've heard that before. But what they're doing now is they're moving a new lawyer, but a familiar face, Todd Blanche, into the lead position. The problem here with that, though, Diane, Todd Blanche is also working on indictment 1 on Donald Trump, the Manhattan DA's case. So there's a lot of work to be done here. Trump writing on social media that we're going to bring another law firm on to assist with this. No idea who that is, but you showed a little clip there of that tough interview this morning with George that Jim Trusty had. This is a tough case. This is significant charges through our reporting. These are 7 counts. We're going to learn more in the coming days. Really stiff consequences. And quite frankly, we still don't know the full breakdown on the case. Once that indictment is unsealed, we're going to learn a lot more than we know right now.
Now, ABC News has also learned that an aide to former President Trump, Walt Nauta, he's also been charged by this special counsel. What's the latest on that?
So we don't know the exact charges. Our sources tell us that Nauta was indeed indicted by this same grand jury down in Florida that Trump was indicted by. All relates to the taking of documents. And you have to remember, this was the aide, remember all of our reporting, who helped move the boxes, helped Trump go through the boxes. Conspiracy is a charge that takes 2 to tango at a minimum. So you have to imagine that is something related here. Again, we don't know the specific charges, but Nauta is a loyal aide. I'm hearing from my sources, it's not as though Nauta pulled a Michael Cohen and has flipped on Donald Trump. That's not what happened here, it appears. But nevertheless, these would be charges that he himself would have to face, be in court. Nauta is described to me, I've met him once, as extremely loyal. He was a government employee, not a Trump appointee in the White House. He was a valet, would get the former president his Diet Cokes. Trump left the White House, Nauta left with him. He's been working in him with Mar-a-Lago since.
And a big news day for this story, because ABC News has also confirmed that prosecutors have an audio recording where Trump apparently is heard saying that he took classified information with him to Florida when he left the White House. What can you tell us about that?
Well, the other thing to add on to that quote, Diane, is that he took that information and he can't declassify it now because he's not president. That is going to be key.
That's what he's saying on the tape.
That is what he says on this tape, as our sources describe it to us. And that's the case, right? That you didn't declassify these things. Trump had been saying previously, I did, I've told people, couldn't name the people he's told. But now, federal prosecutors have this audio in their possession. We are told through our sources it is a key piece of evidence in their case. We have not heard the tape. You got to imagine in one of the upcoming court proceedings, I think we all are going to hear that tape soon.
He's due in court in Miami next week, John. What are you looking out for?
He is due on Tuesday. We are looking for what exactly is the crime here. We know the basic charges. We know that Team Trump was given a summary, but now we need the actual meat on the bones. What is this? What did they find? What were the documents that were concerning to them? And remember, there were a lot of documents recovered, hundreds, through multiple trips down to Mar-a-Lago. So we still have a lot we don't know.
All right. Executive editorial producer John Santucci. Great to have you, John. Thank you.
Thanks, Diane.
And let's bring in senior investigative reporter Aaron Katursky, who's there in Miami, along with attorney Jeffrey Robbins for more. Jeff, what do you make of this move? 2 attorneys now leaving the case just a day after the indictment comes down, less than a full day.
Yeah. Well, no rational lawyer wants to be associated with a debacle. And this is looking like the legal equivalent of the Hindenburg disaster. And so these resignations ought to be viewed in that context. The last thing that Donald Trump's legal team, so insofar as they have a legal team, would want right now is pandemonium, is chaos. And what they have is chaos. The legal news for Donald Trump wasn't good up until this moment, and it has now gotten considerably worse because it's very, very hard to function under these circumstances, as most lawyers will tell you.
Aaron, could this affect the timing of the case at all?
One of the most effective ways to delay a legal case is to change lawyers, because new lawyers would be given an opportunity to get up to speed on the case matters. But in this particular time, Diane, nothing's happened yet. We know that an indictment has been returned. The former president has been summoned here on Tuesday, so we still expect that to go forward as scheduled. We haven't heard anything different from the court at this point.
Jeff, how does this change in attorneys, what does this mean for Trump's potential defense?
Well, the strong points, if you can say that about his situation, remain the same. He's got a trial in South Florida rather than Washington, D.C. That's a good thing. He apparently has appointed the judge who issued very favorable rulings to him some months ago, which were ridiculed by the appeals court. That's a good thing. And the defense will remain the same. It will be, it seems to me, trying to poison the jury pool by a cacophony, really a mega cacophony of attacks on this as a prosecution by the Biden crime family and retaliation by the DOJ, and the hope that that seeps into the so-called bloodstream of the jury pool of South Florida, that he gets one vote. That's all he needs is one vote to acquit, and that he survives legally that way in this case.
Aaron, Jeff just touched on this, but sources tell ABC News that the judge overseeing this case was appointed by Trump himself. So how much does that matter? Could that impact the case?
Well, it could potentially impact it, I suppose, if she's deemed sympathetic to Trump when it comes time for sentencing, should it ever really get to that point. But Judge Aileen Cannon has already made moves that have represented legal victories for Trump that had to get reversed by a federal appeals court. Way back in August, when the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago, seized a number of documents, the Trump legal team asked Judge Cannon to intervene and appoint a special master to investigate all of those materials to see whether prosecutors should even have access to them. And that's something that she did. Inappropriately so, the federal appeals court said, ruling that she had overstepped her authority in just interjecting herself into what had been a matter that until that point hadn't been before her. Now it appears she is going to be hearing this trial. It would be rare in a criminal case for the Justice Department to ask for recusal.
All right, Aaron Katersky, Jeffrey Robbins, thank you both.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.